Morning, everybody. How you doing? Quick one from me today because it's game day, and I don't think that there's much point in putting this up too late. Otherwise, the answers that I'm asking from you for the questions that I have will be based on facts, on what happened in the game, rather than what is going to happen in the game. Today, guys, we're playing West Ham United at home. Always an interesting, lively affair. Always a tricky encounter. It is, of course, West Ham's cup final. They don't have much to celebrate during the season, so don't take that one away from them. But it's an interesting game. Injuries to both teams. Form volatile. Opportunities for both teams, given what's happening elsewhere in the Premier League this weekend. I was saying yesterday, it feels to me like the top four race has been blown wide open recently. You know, Newcastle, I think I heard on Sky the reporter or the journalist saying 12 days ago Newcastle were 12 points ahead of Liverpool, and now they're 6 points ahead and Liverpool have got a game in hand. Could be wrong about that stat, but that's what I recollect hearing. So they've got their marching gear on. Cody Gakpo starting to find some form. Darwin Núñez starting to find some form. Chelsea still not anything like a team. They're a bunch of individuals. Dropped points against Southampton. Fulham and Brighton tussled it out. Fulham came away the victor. Probably didn't deserve the win, but these things happen. That's a good result for Tottenham. Brentford also dropping points. Obviously Newcastle dropping points. Guys, the top four race is wide open. There's 7 teams. If you discount Manchester United, because they're probably looking up, not behind. You've got Newcastle, Tottenham, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, Liverpool and Chelsea, who I don't think you can disclude either, because, listen, as soon as they figure it out, they've got an amazing squad. I don't think they are going to figure it out this season, but you never know. They get one game goes their way, start to, snowball down the hill effect, and they could eat up those points very quickly. 7 teams in the top 4 race. Tottenham could go 4th today. Will go 4th if we win. Incredible season. So many more stories left to be told. The story I want you to tell me, though, guys, is how do we beat West Ham today? What is the formation, what is the team lineup that you'd like to see? For me, obviously we're going to go 3-4-3, that much is always clear. Whether you were to go to a 3-4-1-2 version of the 3-4-3 and see Richarlison come in for Sonny, and Richarlison and Kane play kind of in the double man up top and put Decky in the hole behind it, that's an experiment I'd like to see us try. Don't see anywhere near enough of it, if at all. Do you stick with the 3 up front? Let me know your thoughts on that one as a spread. And if so, does Sonny keep his place? Do you drop him for Richarlison? Do you drop him for Danjuma? Do you drop Decky for Richarlison? Do you invert Sonny for Decky and drop Decky and play Richarlison on the left, Sonny on the right? How do we do it? How do we do it up front? Because I think, from memory, we've only scored 11 goals in our last 8 games. Again, that stat could be incorrect, but it's not enough from a team with so many options in the forward line and a natural starting forward line that most people said at the start of the season was either the best, if not the best, and the second best starting forward lineup in the Premier League. Obviously we've got problems at the back. We never really know what sort of performance to expect there, but increasingly there's going to be vulnerabilities, and that again leads me back to the question of what do you do with the wing backs. I was saying it even before we signed Pedro Porro. I don't know if you can play Pedro Porro and Perisic in the same 11 with the current system and the current centre backs that we have, because Perisic and Porro are brilliant forward moving players. Well, it depends how you feel about Perisic, but generally speaking, I think we'd all agree that he's far better on the ball than he is without it. There's obviously a terribly small sample size for Porro in the Premier League, but from Sporting days, the stats all suggested that amazing going forward, not so amazing going back. Although when we looked into the detail and focused on the Champions League games, for example, where the competition was a little bit tougher, he did have more comparable and competitive defensive numbers, but just the eye test for me tells me that he is a guy who wants to get forward. And so, can you really afford to play Porro and Perisic? If so, are you going to leave and let the back three vulnerable to being countered on? And if so, what does that look like? How do you go with the back three? Romero, Dyer and Davies is probably my choice for today's escapades. I want to see a little bit more calm, rational heads from Romero. I've been saying it since he's joined the club. He's got red cards in him, and he didn't get one last season, but this season he could have had 2 or 3 by now. And we can't have that rush of blood to the head too often. You don't want to stamp out his aggressiveness because it's an important asset, but you need to manage it and nurture it and control it. And I think sometimes he just flirts a little bit with that line too closely. And then, of course, guys, the big one: what do you want to see play in the middle? There's an argument to say it's Pape Sarr and Højbjerg's time. How are they going to handle Declan Rice? Is it going to be one man's job to handle him, or is it going to be zonal, and then just wherever he drifts into, that's the role of whoever needs to pick him up? It's going to be a really tough and challenging experience for whoever it is that is picked today. There's an argument to say it's Sarr and Højbjerg. I think a lot of people were very blown away by Sarr's game on Tuesday night, but I actually think Ollie Skipp was just as impressive, played a slightly different role, and you could make the argument that maybe Ollie Skipp starts ahead of Sarr just based on the challenge in front of us. You could even make the argument that both of them don't deserve to be dropped based on how well they did against Milan, and that merit should be a part of your thought processes. If it is a part of your thought processes, then how do you feel about Pedro Porro starting? Do you think that Emerson Royal has done enough to maintain his position? I think you could make that argument very easily. I think the guy's put in 3 or 4 very impressive shifts ever since Porro's come in. The threat of Porro coming in, since they just decided to let go of Doherty and kicked away that can down the road for Jed Spence for at least 6 months. I think Emerson has shown before that he's got a determination in his character to improve and to fight for his place. He gets a lot of mud thrown at him, has done since he's been here, by Tottenham fans who look at his lack of quality, his perceived lack of quality, and I think his ignorance or naivety into the difficulties of the right wing back slot versus the right back that he was previously. But he went and spent £1 million of his own money on technical performance analysis and all that stuff to try and improve his game, and he did comparisons, I believe, to Pedro Porro as one of the guys that he asked for a comparison on, and the same with Hakimi and a few others of the higher quality right wing backs in around Europe. Also, I remember after the Manchester City game, he put in a good performance, and he sends out that Instagram message saying, "This is Tottenham, this is my club." He gives off all of the signals of someone that has the characteristics, the personality that I love, like a cult hero, all the way back to when he held up that flare against Arsenal last season. I've got a lot of soft spot for him, and I think he's improving as a defender, improving as a player. I think he's trying to get better going forward. It's obviously still a massive work in progress. Defensively, I don't think you can complain about him. A lot of people are making the argument to shift him into a right-sided centre-back role, because that's where he doesn't have to worry so much about the offensive side, but he can still do most of the things that he does well now defensively. So there's all those arguments to think of him in positive lights, and he's only 23. Right? He's only 23. I think people forget that. He's still very young, and he can improve and will improve the more time he has, I believe. And like I say, unfortunately, with Ryan Sessegnon now injured for the time being, I worry about playing Porro and Perisic in the same team when the centre-backs that we have are of general lack of quality anyway. On top of that though, with their confidence is so shot, so low, that it compounds on itself and makes you vulnerable. And I feel like today, if we go with those two on the left and the right, then maybe if we get turnover, the transition of the play happens too far up the field, then we could be leaving those three or one or two of them exposed massively, like we were against Leicester. And we don't want to miss this opportunity today to take 3 points, guys. It's always a tough game. West Ham always play above themselves in this fixture, but it is a game that we should be winning. I think that it should be relatively trouble-free even. But there's always banana skins in every game with Tottenham, based on whether individuals make mistakes or whether they step up. One thing's for sure, we need our front three to find some chemistry today. We need, if Sonny is going to play, he needs to be a little bit less selfish, a little bit more like he used to be, a bit more predictable, with the ability for our own teammates to know what he's going to do next, rather than just getting the ball and running it into trouble all the time. He needs to adapt his game, but adapt it back to how he used to play, not into this new version of him where he's so desperate to try and get these poor performances out of his way that I think actually he's doubling down on the things that are not working out for him, and it's a vicious circle. But that's to talk about afterwards. What are your thoughts, guys? What's your prediction? I'm going to say 3-1 Tottenham. I think we're going to get back onto it, and I think that the formation for me would be 3-4-3, Foster in goal, Romero, Davies and Dyer in the middle. I'd like to see, I think, Emerson Royale on the right, Perisic on the left, Sarr and Højbjerg in the middle, and then Richarlison, Kane and Decky up top. Let me know your selection, guys. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you after the game. Take it easy. Bye.